Retro Road Test, Porsche 944 vs Toyota Supra, 1989 UK Road Test. Introduction, two visions of speed, one very loud decade. The late 1980s were a curious time for performance cars. Hair was big, interest rates were bigger, and car designers were clearly being paid by the straight line. Aerodynamics were no longer whispered about in wind tunnels but shouted from drawing boards with rulers, set squares and a worrying disregard for subtlety. It was a golden age of excess, and nowhere was this excess better embodied than in the sports cars of the era. Into this world come our two protagonists, the Porsche 944, Stuttgart's resolutely Teutonic front-engined sports car, and the Toyota Supra, Japan's turbocharged muscle coupe with a targa roof and an alarming number of dashboard buttons. Both are from 1989, both are sold officially in the UK, and both represent wildly different ideas of how one should go about going quickly while looking extremely confident about it. On paper, this should be a mismatch. Porsche has pedigree, racing heritage, and a badge that makes valets stunned to attention. Toyota has reliability, turbocharging, and an engineering department that works like a Swiss watch factory run by people who don't drink at lunch. But as ever, the truth lies not on paper but on a damp British B-road, somewhere between a farm shop and a village with a pub called the Something and Something. The contenders. Porsche 944 S2, 1989, UK spec. By 1989, the Porsche 944 was no longer the entry-level Porsche that early snobs had sneered at. The S2 variant, launched in 1989, was the most fully realized naturally aspirated 944 of them all, short of the later Turbo S and the near-mythical 968 that followed. Under that long, sloping bonnet sits a 3.0-litre four-cylinder engine, the largest four-cylinder petrol engine in series production at the time. It produces around 211 bhp, sent to the rear wheels via a transaxle gearbox, giving the 944 its famously near-perfect weight distribution. Performance figures for the UK S2 are healthy rather than outrageous. 0-60 miles per hour in around 6.5 seconds. Top speed just over 150 miles per hour. But numbers, as Porsche would be quick to remind you, probably while wearing a polo shirt and folding their arms, are not the point. Toyota Supra 3.0 Turbo, a 70, 1989 UK spec. The third-generation Supra, known internally as the A70, is a very different animal. This is not a lightweight sports car, it is a grand touring bruiser with a turbocharger and a slightly menacing stare. UK buyers in 1989 could get the 3.0 Turbo, powered by the legendary 7M GTE straight-six, producing around 232 bhp in UK trim. Power goes to the rear wheels, and you can have either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic, which we will politely ignore. Performance figures look excellent on paper. 0-60 miles per hour in roughly 6.0 seconds. Top speed around 155 miles per hour. The Supra also comes with a targa roof, meaning you can remove a large section of the roof and store it in the boot, provided you enjoy lifting something roughly the weight of a medium-sized wardrobe. Styling, Bauhaus vs Tokyo After Dark. Porsche 944, functional, focused, and a bit smug. The Porsche 944 looks exactly like what it is, a car designed by engineers who were told to make it work and then grudgingly allowed to make it attractive afterwards. The shape is clean, wedge-like, and unapologetically purposeful. Pop-up headlights sit flush when not in use, The wheel arches are subtly muscular, and the whole thing has the air of a car that knows precisely how fast it can go and sees no need to shout about it. It is a handsome car, but it is not flamboyant. Park it outside a wine bar and it blends in nicely with the architecture. Park it outside a kebab shop at midnight and it looks slightly disapproving. Toyota Supra, big, bold, and proud of it. The Supra, by contrast, is not remotely shy. It is wide, long, and festooned with vents, spoilers, and styling flourishes that suggest its designer had recently watched Top Gun. The front end is low and aggressive, the rear is dominated by a sizable spoiler, and the whole thing looks like it's doing 80 miles per hour even when stationary. The Targa roof adds drama, though it also introduces a faint sense that the car might creak slightly if you drive over a particularly judgmental speed bump. Where the Porsche is elegant restraint, the Supra is confidence bordering on cockiness. It wants you to know it has a turbocharger, and it would very much like you to talk about it. Interior, precision instrument vs technological playground. Porsche 944, everything where it should be. Climb into the 944 and you are immediately reminded that Porsche builds cars for people who enjoy driving as an activity rather than a lifestyle choice. The driving position is superb. The pedals are perfectly aligned, the steering wheel is just the right size, and the seats hug you in a reassuringly firm, Teutonic manner. Everything falls easily to hand, and the instruments are clear, legible, and entirely free of nonsense. This is not a flashy interior. There is no digital anything, no dramatic lighting effects, and no sense that the car is trying to impress you with gadgets. It simply assumes you are here to drive. Toyota Supra, buttons, screens, and the future, as imagined in 1989. The Supra's interior is a glorious snapshot of late 80s optimism about technology. Digital displays, electronic controls, and more buttons than a flight simulator greet you as you settle into the driver's seat. The seats are comfortable and plush, the cabin is spacious, and everything feels solidly put together. Toyota's build quality is evident everywhere, from the reassuring thunk of the doors to the way nothing rattles, even when you go looking for it. The dashboard wraps around the driver in a vaguely futuristic fashion, making you feel like you are piloting something important. Possibly a spaceship. Or at least a very fast fax machine. Engines and performance, torque vs timing. Porsche 944 S2, linear, honest, rewarding. Turn the key and the 3.0-liter four-cylinder fires into life with a slightly agricultural thrum that smooths out as it warms. This is not a charismatic engine in the traditional sense, it doesn't sing or snarl, but it is immensely effective. Power delivery is linear and predictable. There is no sudden surge, no dramatic moment, just a steady, building wave of thrust that rewards precision and commitment. The engine loves to rev, and the more you work it, the better it feels. This is a car that encourages you to drive properly. Get it wrong and it will let you know. Get it right and it feels sublime. Toyota Supra Turbo, boost, baby. The Supra's straight six is a different proposition entirely. At low revs, it is smooth and civilized, almost sedate. But prod the throttle and wait for the turbo to spool up, and suddenly the world starts coming at you rather quickly. There is a noticeable surge as the boost arrives, and it is deeply satisfying. The Supra feels fast in a way the Porsche does not, simply because the power delivery is more dramatic. It is less subtle, less precise, but undeniably exciting. This is a car that wants to be driven with enthusiasm, preferably on a wide, open road where the turbo can stretch its lungs. Handling and ride, Scalpel vs Sledgehammer, a very polite one. Porsche 944, balance is everything. The 944's party trick is its balance. With the engine at the front and the gearbox at the rear, weight distribution is almost perfect, and it shows. Turn into a corner and the car responds instantly. Steering is beautifully weighted and full of feedback, letting you know exactly what the front tires are doing. Grip is excellent, and the chassis feels unflappable even when pushed hard. This is a car that thrives on British B roads. It dances through corners, changing direction with an eagerness that makes you grin like an idiot. Toyota Supra, stable, confident, and surprisingly capable. The Supra is heavier and larger, and you feel it. It does not dart into corners like the Porsche, but it is stable, predictable, and far more capable than its size suggests. The steering is lighter and less communicative, but the chassis is well sorted, and the car inspires confidence. On faster roads, the Supra feels utterly at home, eating up miles with ease. It is not as sharp as the Porsche, but it is easier to drive quickly without breaking a sweat, or the law, if you are unlucky. Brakes, gearboxes, and daily use. Both cars are well equipped in the stopping department, with powerful disc brakes that inspire confidence. The Porsche's pedal feel is slightly firmer and more communicative, while the Toyota's is softer but no less effective. Gearboxes are manual in both cases, and both are excellent. The Porsche's shift is precise and mechanical, while the Toyota's is smoother and more forgiving. As daily drivers, the Supra has the edge. It is more comfortable, more refined, and easier to live with. The Porsche demands more from you, but rewards you accordingly. Ownership, image, and the pub test. Arrive at the pub in a Porsche 944 and people assume you know something about cars. Arrive in a Toyota Supra and people assume you are about to tell them something about turbochargers. The Porsche carries prestige, but also expectations. The Toyota carries surprise, and often admiration from those in the know. Reliability favors the Supra, servicing costs favor neither, and fuel economy is best discussed quietly and without judgment. Conclusion: two roads to the same destination. The Porsche 944 S2 is a driver's car in the purest sense. It rewards skill, precision, and commitment. It is a thinking person's sports car, and one that still feels special decades later. The Toyota Supra Turbo is a powerhouse. Fast, comfortable, and packed with character, it delivers its thrills in a more accessible, dramatic way. It is a car that makes you feel fast, even when you are not trying very hard. Which is better? That depends entirely on what you want. If you value balance, feedback, and purity, the Porsche wins. If you want speed, presence, and turbocharged theater, the Supra takes it. Either way, you end up with a late 80s classic that proves the decade wasn't just about bad suits and worse music, it was also about some truly brilliant cars.